Road to Recovery is about to go to St. Louis and interview someone who's got a compelling story of recovery, somebody you'll probably never forget. St. Louis is just an amazing city, beautiful. It's also in Missouri, in the Midwest, home to one of the worst opiate heroin epidemics that the country has ever seen. It's also the home to an amazing guy in recovery. His name's Sabora. He has a compelling story, overcoming addiction.
My addiction? It started as a weekend warrior from about 13 to 25. I actually was able to pick up and put down you name it, heroin, cocaine, any drug. Around 25, I got addicted to prescription sleeping pills, and that's when I crossed, in my story, when I crossed the line from abuse to addiction, and I became dependent on a substance. Once I crossed that line, there was no going back. After my last year of law school, this summer I was taking the bar exam. My father got diagnosed and shortly passed away with leukemia. At that point, I started abusing more sleeping pills, benzodiazepines for anxiety, such as Xanax, Valium, and dabbling in the pain pills a little bit. About a year after my father passed away, my mom got diagnosed with terminal lung cancer, and I started a little heavier on the pain pills to the point where I was just completely dependent, and I was on those for probably about a year through the help of my first drug dealer, my psychiatrist, who would write me prescription after prescription for basically anything I wanted. Came a point though when he cut me off. And at that point, I was a prosecuting attorney in Chicago, had a nice $500,000 house in the suburbs, 2 cars, fiance, dogs. It was the dream, but the fiance was out of town. She was in Boston on business, and my pain pills had run out, and I know dope sickness from my past, and I felt that first stomach cramp come in, sitting on my couch out in the suburbs, and within a minute, I was in my car heading down to the west side to pick up dope. Once that happened, I was gone for about 5 years, basically. I burned through every dime I had, lost my house, law license got suspended, family walked away from me, fiance left. I let my addiction destroy my entire life. How I turned around was pain. Every other time Kip kind of alluded to this, but every other time I went to rehab, I was going to save my career, I was going to save my marriage. But I woke up one morning, I looked in the mirror, and I had been called, for the past 6 years up until that point, I had been called every name in the book. POS, junkie, worthless. I mean, you say the most horrible things to me. I suffer from a disease of perception. I don't believe what you're saying because my mind has been programmed in a way to keep me using drugs. So I won't believe anything you say. No, you don't understand. You don't know my pain. But you know what? I woke up one morning and I looked in the mirror in the bathroom. Every single thing they said about me was dead on. I had that brief moment where I actually saw who I was, and looking in the mirror, I was a worthless piece of shit junkie that would steal and rob my family, my best friend, just to get one more. And for like a good minute, I just stood there and I despised what I saw in the mirror. I haven't picked up a dope since then. Only through the grace of who my father was am I alive today because I got the ability to go to treatment. My dad was a recovering addict himself who got clean in the late 60s. And helped found Gateway Foundation, one of the larger treatment centers. So when I was struggling, it was his friends that he built Gateway with, and he knew his whole life that actually are the ones that saved my life. But he played a part in it. He had his hand on this whole thing from the grave, helping me save my life. So that's why I'm here today, and that's why I do what I do.
Unfortunately, not everyone recovers. Some people lose their lives to addiction. But many people do recover, and not only recover, move beyond recovery into advocacy, and they help change the world. I'd like to share with you what Sabora is doing, not only to change this epidemic, but to save people's lives.
I have been in recovery from heroin and every drug known to man addiction since June 9th, 2011. All the things that are happening right now would not be possible if I wasn't able to go to rehab and rooms of
12-step fellowship were not available to me. I credit both those things with saving my life. One of the biggest things that we need to work on, and that I have been fortunate enough to be involved in since I got clean, is really pushing for 2 major pieces of legislation, and now 3. First one is more access to Narcan, which reverses overdoses. Everyone's acting like it's a new drug. It's been around since 1961. Narcan distribution has been happening for 20 years, but with the opioid overdoses and the epidemic we're seeing, it's really getting the attention and the media that it finally deserves. But this drug needs to be available over the counter to everybody that could possibly need it, plain and simple. So the bill that I've helped write and got sponsored for Missouri makes it available that if you're 17 or older, all you got to do is walk into Walgreens with an ID and you can buy Narcan. That's going to be the national standard within the next 3 years. Thousands of lives will be saved if this happens, only because I found recovery. Immunity laws, granting people immunity for calling for 911 when they witness an overdose, one thing that should blanket this country. And another thing that's a major issue right now with the introduction of the opioid epidemic is a lot of people that normally wouldn't are now IV drug users. So the federal government has been slowly lifting their ban on syringe exchange programs. These are crucial. We have a horrible rate of hepatitis C in this country due to what's happening. If you look in Indiana and the Appalachians, they've had a major HIV outbreak. All of those things are preventable if we had had the correct tools in place, such as needle exchange programs. And from a selfish standpoint, when somebody comes to me for clean needles, first thing I do when they walk in, yes, I give them clean needles, but I plant the seed of recovery in their head. And I make sure they know that I'm one person that they can come to and I will not judge them. And whether they have insurance, whether they're on the streets or not, we can find a way to get them treatment. If that was the national standard, we would have such less addiction. People are still looking at this as a criminal issue, that everyone needs to be locked up. But if we look at it from a public health crisis, we're going to see our numbers go down. And then think about it. One person gets clean and is able to do some of these things. This could be a domino effect. The more people we get clean, the more people that can stand up and make a difference.
We talk about the problems. We talk about how bad it is. Sometimes I'm called Danny Downer because I'm always talking about how bad it is with heroin and opiates in our country. But I want to talk about the hope. I want to talk about recovery. Recovery is possible, and people do recover. This is the road to recovery. I'm Michael DeLeon.